conversation. My name is Hannah, and we are starting a new thing. We have this podcast, and I have some people on here with me. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hey everybody, it's Mick.
Hey everybody, I'm Greg, and I'm excited about this new format.
Yeah, this is a new thing for us. We've been in your ears before, but now we're going to be in your eyeballs.
Yeah, we're sorry.
So, we're located in the Texas Panhandle, and we want to add some local 806 flavor since this is based in the 806. So, there's only one of us in this room who was born and raised in Texas. I wonder if that's obvious.
Probably.
It is.
Yeah.
You know, Mick and I grew up in California.
That's right. You were Southern California. I was Northern California.
But when I go back and visit my friends, they say I've picked up a Texas accent.
Really?
Yes.
My friends say that I talk slower.
Ah. And you've got the cartoon voice.
I've always had the cartoon voice. Yeah, that's never stopped. Yeah. That's just... I love that.
Okay, so for those of you who did not grow up here, what was the most surprising thing for you when you moved to Texas?
Most surprising thing. I don't know as much as surprising, but some of the stereotypes are actually kind of true. For example, college and high school football are kind of a religion here. Texans do know how to smoke meats. There's a certain level of politeness here that is pretty unique, and I find in many ways pretty cool. And then, what else? What would you say, Greg?
Well, I would agree with several of the things that you just shared. The people were incredibly friendly.
Yeah.
And I remember first moving to Abilene and driving down the highway, and if you came up upon somebody, they would pull over kind of onto the side of the highway so that you could pass them. In California, you were setting yourself up for a drive-by shooting.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
But they were just so polite and friendly. That was something that I noticed. The food, I'd never had a chicken fried steak before.
Gravy. I've never had gravy
Oh, man,
before.
I fell in love with the food.
Yeah.
Texas barbecue, especially the beef, no question. Football is king. In this part of the country, it's the wind. I've never experienced the wind like I have in this part of the country.
And a deep appreciation for land.
Yes. Because, Hannah, you grew up here on a plot of land that is kind of family. And so your family is tied to the land.
Yeah, so I live on a farm or I grew up on a farm out on the rim of the Palo Canyon, which is a big part of where we live. It's been in my family for almost 100 years. So, yeah, it's a big part of our story and our legacy, and we still gather out there as a big family. It's pretty special.
You know, in California, we didn't have a lot of extended family where I was. We had to travel to central Illinois because that's where my parents grew up. But in Texas, especially this part of the country, you have 3, sometimes 4 generations of people that live within 10, 15 miles of one another.
Yeah, and as many people give kind of this part of Texas a hard time as far as its beauty, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be mean. It is flat. It can be brown and windy. I noticed that a lot of people want to come back.
Oh, no question.
And
Especially to start their families.
Yes.
They'll leave for college. They'll start a career. If they have a family, a lot of times they want to raise their family here.
Yeah, I've only lived in Panhandle area for just over 3 years, and for Tara and I, my wife and I, it's been meaningful. We've enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was a great place for us to raise our 3 kids.
So the wind is worth it. If you stick around long enough,
Question mark. No.
So you did mention chicken fried steak. Both of my grandmothers and my mom made amazing homemade.
Ooh.
That's what I'm talking about. Oh, man.
Oh, man.
I mean, it probably put you in the grave 20 years earlier, but...
Who cares? So, another thing we want to do with this podcast is just kind of talk about how we live our lives and realize that faith and our lives are connected. So, just thinking about current days, what's been on your mind lately, really, that you just kind of in our culture or in our lives, or things that you're hearing on news?
Yeah, so for me, I'm a dad, and we just sent our oldest off to college, And our youngest, she is still with us, but she'll only be with us for a couple years. And so I'm thinking through life a little differently right now and what that means. And I read this kind of cool article the other day where, did you know that 30-year-old and younger more times than not use subtitles when they watch TV? And did you know that 60 and over do not use subtitles? Now, that might seem like a silly stat, but I bring that up to make this point, and that is, I think it clearly is a disconnect and gap between generations, and it's something that I'm trying to pay attention to. And I feel the ones who are most responsible for closing that gap are people who are 45 and over, and I'm 46. And I feel that we need, in our kind of aging and older generations, and I'm including me in this, need to ask some very hard questions to what are we leaving behind for the next generation. And I would say, statistically speaking, there are some alarming facts that are saying that we're not doing a good job. For example, today, 30-year-olds today make less money than their parents did when they were 30 years old. And now they're saying 60 years and over have more money than they've ever had, which to me it implies or indicates that people, especially as they age, are holding on more to what they have. And I would say they're not just holding on more to what they have when they're with their money. I think you're seeing this in a lot of different ways. I think we're seeing this socially, economically, religiously, and even politically. And what I'm trying to ask myself right now as a parent is, am I willing to let things go, and what am I doing to help my children and hopefully their children in the next generation, and what does that look like? And so it's because of where I'm at in my life and my age and stage, but that's what I'm thinking about right now. So when I'm looking at news and watching things, and I'm seeing all the division and the anger, and I'm seeing, the economy and all those things, the first thing that comes to my mind isn't politics. The first thing that comes to my mind is, what are we doing to our kids? And I think the best question we should be asking, and I know this sounds doom and gloom, but this is our first podcast, so whatever, is, do we love our children enough?
Think about how community has shifted over the years, just how we engage in groups. Like even thinking back to tribal, kind of a tribal existence where you're taking care of one another, raising one another, sharing resources. We've become so individualized that I think we've lost some of that. And to your point, that hurts our kids, it hurts the younger generations when we're not taking care of each other in that way.
I feel like we're almost overprotecting and we're not releasing enough. Well, weird protecting. Like, even Tara and I, we talked about this, that I wouldn't call us like helicopter parents, and we let our kids play outside. But if you notice, like, we're afraid as parents to let our kids go outside and play. And, we think the worst things are going to happen when we kind of let them go into the world. And yet, on the flip side, we let our kids expose themselves to whatever when it comes to online. So like we're kind of like we need to figure this out. Essentially, is how are we going to release our children, trust our children to lead the next generation, and have confidence knowing that, man, I think our kids and what they're doing is pretty cool and unique, and they're definitely different than us, but that's not always a bad thing.
We've been reading the book, The Anxious Generation by Jonathan Haidt, and he talks a lot about that. He says we have overprotected with our kids going outdoors, and we've underprotected with their devices, with their smartphones. He also says we've transitioned from a play-based childhood to a phone-based childhood. And so I would say one of the things on my mind is just technology. And technology is a beautiful thing, and none of us could live without it. I say that. We probably could make it without it. But there are some things we've traded in for the convenience of technology, and my fear is one of those things is relationships, especially this intergenerational thing that we talk about a lot here at Central, older and younger, how we're influenced not just by an older generation, but also by a younger generation. But that's hard to do when you're glued to a phone.
Yeah.
When you're glued to a device. It's not just what is coming through the device. That, some of that you'll hear people, well, can you believe this is online or this is online? Haidt's argument is it's not just what's coming online, it's what you are now substituting for this. I mean, you're having to give up something to be online 7, 8, 9 hours a day. Matter of fact, the schools this year, I think in the state of Texas, you have to turn in your device. You can't have your device during the day. Is that accurate, or am I making that up?
No, that's true. I think it's a new Texas state law, and I think it's a great law. I think there should be more regulation when it comes not just simply technology use, but even the information that's being shared regularly. Not to get into AI and all that stuff, but there's not much regulation on that, and even me, I'm getting exposed to information, for lack of a better word, that I don't even realize it is probably not even true, but yet it's shaping me, it's forming me. And as a Christian, as someone who values truth in a way that I'm supposed to live out, if I'm being fed false truth, then of course I'm going to become more angrier and bitter and divisive. And I think we need to, and I think this is what you're alluding to, I think we need to spend some time doing some serious introspection on society and saying, what are we doing here? Like, what's going on? Why are we like raising the alarms and saying, hey, there's some stuff going on right now in our society and culture that we definitely need to be paying attention to. And it's finding its way in everything. It's not just, but for me, going back to kids, it's alarming because if you kind of read the stats on things like mental health, depression, anxiety, shame, anger, our young people essentially are sad. And we need to figure out a way to help provide them a world where they can flourish and thrive and experience a deeper joy.
And I think one of the ways that happens, I mean, I would segue, you're talking about how the just technology is shaping us. I mean, one of the questions we're asking around church, Hannah, something that you're asking in your graduate work right now is, who are we becoming, or what are we becoming, and what is shaping us? And so part of our conversation right now at Central is the importance of spiritual practices, spiritual habits, rhythms, how those things are shaping us in a more Christ-centered way, becoming much more like Christ so that we can experience a fuller life and a deeper joy.
Yeah, absolutely. Several of us here on staff and in our leadership have been reading Practicing the Way by John Mark, and he says, we're all disciples of something. So if my phone is the something that I'm pouring my days into, that's shaping me. Right? We need to be attentive to that.
Yeah.
So that's a good segue, thank you, Derek, into kind of why are we doing this new podcast? This is not going to be focused on just things that are happening at Central. By the way, we're at Central Church of Christ in Amarillo. And this is for us, but it's also for people just in the Panhandle. I think we do better when we learn from one another, when we interact with other beliefs and have good conversations and aren't scared to talk about things. So what is our hope with this podcast?
Figuratively, if we're going with the Panhandle vibe, I'm imagining us on your land. There's a big front porch. There's rocking chairs. We have either coffee in the morning or tea, and we're just having a casual, healthy, civil, open conversation about what's happening in the world around us. And we don't always agree, and yet there's this deep love for one another and a deep love for making the world a better place. And so for me, that's kind of what I want to get out of this, is to be able to, not only for us, but also be able to kind of exemplify to those who are willing to listen and to watch, to say, hey, we can talk about things and it can be meaningful and helpful, and we don't always have to agree, and that's okay.
And it's local. I mean, I like that. I mean, we may read something or see something that's happening in Los Angeles or in Denver or in Chicago or in New York, but what's happening in our neck of the woods? What's going on in the Panhandle area, and how does it intersect with our faith, or how does our faith intersect with all of that, and having those conversations and being open and honest. I do think that's something people are wanting. Just be clear, just be articulate, just be transparent, be honest about it. It's hard to, it feels like in our day and age, it's hard sometimes to get the truth, or to hear people speak from a deep sense of honesty. And so I look forward to hearing how we share on some of those topics.
Yeah, and we don't have to always agree, and that's okay, right? And we're not, I feel like we're not good at that in today's culture, disagreeing well. So that's part of this, is that we'll have this conversation. Now, one of the things that we want to make sure we do is provide thoughtful and sound theology. What do you mean by that?
Theology, in my opinion, comes from, first off, if you don't know what the word theology means, the most basic definition is recognizing that God is working in the world around us, and are we knowing how to articulate that, interpret that, and name that in a way that reflects where God is as far as God's mission and purpose in the world. And so I think there needs to be a way to create a deep theology is to, and I want to be careful because I don't want to sound elitism, but I think it requires thoughtfulness. It requires a certain posture of listening and of peace. And I think there needs to be some changes within you in order for you to produce good theology. It's deeper than just knowing all the right things to say, though it is good to be learned and to be taught and to be teachable. But there's also a deeper wisdom at play when you're thinking through things theologically.
And I think there's a lot of truth to that. I mean, for me, theology is just the idea of how is God at work? Who is God? What is He doing? For me, seeking God through the Scriptures is helpful to determine a healthy theology, but I would also say through one another. Mm-hmm. And as somebody who's been on a cancer journey, both Mick and I are cancer survivors. I've heard a lot of terrible theology related to sickness and suffering. And sometimes I think that can almost be, I want to be careful here, but it can almost be damaging. Some of the things we say about how God's at work in the life of somebody who's dealing with cancer or something along those lines. I think having a healthy understanding of where is God, what is God up to, and how is He at work when you're going through difficulty or when you're thriving in life, I think it matters.
Yeah, and our words really matter, right? Like, to your point, we can unintentionally do harm to others when we're not thoughtful with our words. We're thoughtful about what God is doing and articulating that. It's also easy sometimes to repeat things we've heard without thinking through them today. You know, do I still actually believe what I'm saying here? Is this true of God? Or is this a message I've accepted somewhere along the way that's not most accurate?
Well, and there's so much chatter in our culture, right? I mean, somebody said the other day, attention is the currency of our age, and everybody's trying to get your attention. And you're bombarded with it through our devices, through technology, and in other ways. And if you're not careful, that is shaping you as opposed to being shaped into the image and the likeness of Christ. You're being shaped and formed in the image and the likeness of your culture or the world or what somebody else wants you to become.
No, I would add to that, and I would even say, half jokingly, that one of the reasons why even maybe this podcast doesn't get super popular is because I think we're just going to speak from a very, for lack of a better word, normal or calm or kind of middle posture position. And what sells is clickbait, rage, or very controversial statements. And so, of course, YouTube influencers and podcasters who either they themselves say the strangest or wildest, outlandish things that are hurtful, and or the guests they bring on, what happens is, and again, this goes back to kind of the internet, and what we're seeing is they say something and people click it. They want to hear what they just said. That generates lots of views. All our companies like it because then they get to put on the commercials, and that makes money. Mm-hmm. So extremism, rage, bad theology, that actually increases profit, and that's why it's cool. And unfortunately, many of us don't realize that, and we're not even asking simple questions when we hear or watch something. Is that good theology or is that bad theology? Where is God in this?
We want to make sure we're asking those important questions and kind of being subversive to the culture in a little subtle way, hopefully. So that's a big part of this, is the theology behind just our beliefs and our faith. We also, we've mentioned this already, we want to be a resource for Christians in Kenya and beyond. And we want to discuss current cultural and faith questions. So what's something we need to be thinking about in our daily faith right now? We've covered some topics already, but is there something else you have in mind that we need to be considering?
Yeah, so I like trying to be in touch with what's going on in the world around us. And I mean, you're going to find that about me. And I'm sorry already to the audience when I try to throw out stats and act like I'm some expert socially. I'm really not. I just sound more like I care than I know, which I get that. But I will say this. To me, what's, in my opinion, what I need to be paying attention to most right now is what's happening inside of me. And what am I doing? I feel that we're in a time in the world around us where I think we need to be a lot more introspective and start asking the hardest questions, not about the world around us, not about what other people are doing, but asking hard questions about ourselves and asking ourselves what type of person I am. Why am I angry? Why am I bitter? Why am I impatient? Why can I not drive from work to home without getting mad at somebody on the road? Or why do I treat this person this way or this person this way? And what are happening inside of me? So I feel like that we need to spend some time with examining and some introspection and thinking carefully about the work that God is doing in us. And I'm interested in that. And so I'm in a place in my life where I want to experience a flourishing life. We have Richard Beck coming to Central here, and he wrote that book, The Shape of Joy. In fact, I don't know if I'm supposed to share this, but we're hoping he's going to be our first guest. And one thing he says is, when he thinks about joy, he says, not a joy because of life circumstances, but a joy regardless of life circumstances. And so I don't know, again, maybe it's because I'm thinking about things in life where I'm at, but I want to think deeper and more thoughtfully about where I'm at and what does it mean to have joy and to be kind, to be a good person, not to join in on the rage and the cruelty of the world around us.
I think for me that part of that is a desire for the abundant life. I think it's similar to what Mick is sharing, and certainly self-awareness is a big piece of that. I think something that has become more and more important to me as I've gotten older and maybe more mature is trying to pay attention to the work and the activity of God. What is he doing? Not only what is he doing inside of me, but what is he doing in the lives of others, and what is he doing across the globe? And how can I join that? I think I'm at a stage in my life where I want to join something significant, substantial.
Yeah.
I don't want to just exist. I don't want to just survive. I don't want to just get by. I want the adventurous life. I want the exciting life, right? I want the thriving life. And I think that life is going to be where God's at work and jumping in with him.
Yeah, let's have fun.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
It's not all intended to be serious and straight-laced and boring, right?
Well, that is certainly true for the three of us.
Oh man, yeah.
Something that you mentioned that I'm in grad school, I've been going through a lot of classes and reading lately, and something that keeps coming up for me is this thought of the ministry of presence.
Uh-huh.
How are we available to people? How do we walk into a room? How do we join a conversation? And when I'm more connected to Jesus, I come into that room bringing the presence of Jesus. And that
No question.
matters to those places, right? So that's something that just keeps coming up for me. And what I really want to pay attention to.
And presence is more than just a physical presence, right? I mean, because we're talking about technology here. You can be in a room on a device and not present. You're talking about being fully present and bringing that with you, not just for you, but for others as well.
So we are honored to spend this time with you today. We're excited about this new podcast. We hope it'll be good. We're glad that you're willing to listen to us and look at our faces for a minute.
Just for a minute. Yeah.
So go ahead and follow us. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're looking for more content soon. And we want to hear what you think. You can drop us a comment or a review. If you have questions or things that you'd like us to talk